Hello Aquarius and welcome to your monthly forecast for July for the Sun or the Ascendant. Going to give you the big standout strands to look out for. Please stay with me. I will then go into much greater detail to share with you the dates and key influences affecting your sign in particular. Now, as we go into this new month, we need to look at the progress of your two rulers. Now, Uranus continues in the sign of Taurus, where it's created a lot of restlessness around where you live, how you live there. Perhaps you've needed more space, or you've needed to downsize, move altogether. Perhaps you wanted more personal freedom around your emotional relationships since Uranus moved into this area full-time in March 2019. So Uranus is still in forward motion. It's going to go retrograde next month, but it is going to be forging some very important connections to other planets this month. Now, Saturn, your traditional ruler, that is in retrograde in your own sign. So physical energy and health need to be used cautiously because Saturn obviously can be limiting, but it also can reward us. So if you're working patiently towards something that means a great deal to you and you're not spreading yourself too thinly, Saturn can also be very helpful, and it's going to be forging a standout link to Venus, the planet of love, at one point this month, and I'm excited to share that with you. The other thing to say is that the Sun is returning home on the 22nd, moves into the sign of Leo, which it governs. Now for you, this is your sector of relationships, and there is an amazing event that occurs on the 28th of July that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you. But also, as you come into this month, the Sun is in your sector of everyday organisation, structure, details, anything to do with welfare, and it is still surfing the energy of the new moon, which occurred at the end of June. So I think if you can find ways to improve the flow of your everyday world, your nutrition, your diet, your exercise routines, that's all going to be for the good on the back of that new moon, which squared up with Jupiter in your sector of everyday thoughts, and your energy and enthusiasm coming from that area is good, but it is challenged by Mars's location there, which is in a very tricky square with Pluto the first 4 days. So another big thing to share with you. So we also have the full moon on the 13th in your 12th house, very tender. Now, if you would like to ascend above zodiac astrology and embrace more serious natal astrology, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data, I can give you a roadmap that can guide you for the rest of your life, as well as a 12-month forecast. And with my special package, you can get 30% off. No 2 charts are the same. Your chart will be absolutely, totally unique to you. Please see the link beneath this video. I'm also very close to crashing through that 100,000 mark on subscriptions. If you have subscribed, I'm very grateful. If you haven't yet, I'd be very appreciative if you did. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. But stay with me next for your in-depth Aquarius video for July. So Aquarius, as you make your way into this new month, for sure the Sun's in the very worthy and earnest 6th house, which is kind of a Virgoan feel, but of course it is in Cancer, so nurture is very important. So nurture around your diet and health are all good things to go for at the start of this month. But Mercury and Venus are actually in a very playful zone, one which is terrific as you start this month in terms of getting together with people and enjoying an opportunity to catch up from the limitation around social interaction of the last few years due to COVID. But Jupiter and Mars start this month in your third house, so that energy is also very vibrant and bright and vivacious. So there's a lot to go for, even if the Sun is asking you to keep things real. But that square between Mars and Pluto that I mentioned, that is more tricky. Pluto continues in your 12th house, which is the sector of endings. It's very Piscean. Pluto is a deep and transformational energy. The 12th house is often the parts of ourselves we don't necessarily want to look at. So if you like, the shadow side, but also it can be around secret enemies. That's the more traditional astrological understanding of the 12th house. And Pluto can be hidden energies. So the square between Pluto and Mars suggests that someone could share something at the start of this month completely out of the blue that you're not necessarily expecting. Or it could be you who ventilates a deeply held belief that you've kept private, and you may feel that you do need to get it off your chest. So it just depends how that will play out. Also, your ruler Saturn is in a semi-sextile with Neptune all this month. Neptune's in your sector of everyday resources, so Saturn in your own sign, the inference here is that if you can blend practicality and self-discipline and individuality, Saturn in your own sign, with a sensitivity about how you use your resources, Neptune in the second house, it's a really great combination. But on the 5th we have a big development, because Mars moves out of the very bubbly third house where it's seen you, full of verve and probably quite restless over the previous 6 weeks, into your sector of the home. And of course that's where Uranus and the North Node are, and Uranus has been very restless in this area. Now later this month they're going to be coming together in a very potent way. I'll tell you about that in a bit, but certainly Mars moving into this area can give you more urgency about getting what you need around that home issue. Now it's possible that you have already sorted this out, and Mars will give you the drive to now build up something around the emotional foundations or the physical security of your world. So that could be like a renovation, it could be like redecorating. The challenge with Mars in the 4th house is that it can make us very frustrated more easily, and sometimes a bit more reactive and defensive around more personal and sensitive strands. So just be conscious of that. But on the same day, Mercury moves out of the playful sign it governs, Gemini, and into Cancer. Now Mercury through Cancer, it's a quick transit, only 2 weeks, which is unusual, is not at its best because the wateriness diminutes the clarity and the precision that Mercury likes that flourishes in either Mercury or Virgo. But the good news is that it is going to be only 14 days, and for you Mercury can give you more precision. So the Sun's giving you a lot of desire to reorder your world. Mercury can help you to tackle the details, and if you're someone who finds details a bit onerous, then this can be a great gift. The downside of Mercury in the 6th house is it can make us a bit more brittle, and with Mars now in the 4th, you can see where I'm saying the emotional impatience that Mars can generate in the 4th house is coupled with irritation that could come if life or some strands aren't quite perfect. However, Venus does continue in the sign of Gemini right through to the 18th, and from the 11th it forges a brief but important link to Saturn in your sign. For example, if you asked someone out and they said yes and you got on well, the chances are this relationship could endure. I can't say it would last forever because that would depend on each of the natal horoscopes and the time in each person's life, but a very helpful link. Also, Venus in a stable link with Saturn is good creatively, and Venus in Gemini is very good for articulating ideas. If you're someone who wants to get a personal publication out there, that would be a very good combination, particularly with Jupiter in the third house, which is about finding an audience for your ideas. Now, week 2, the Sun forges a sextile, 60 degrees, very enabling with Uranus, your modern ruler. So this would be a great opportunity to have a little bit of a declutter, to be honest, because Uranus likes space. The Sun in the 6th house likes to get things more organised, and that would be a fine opportunity to do that. For some Aquarius people, this could be a chance to work from home or even start a home-based business. Generally speaking, you can use your desire to get that home base working exactly as you want, Uranus, Node, and now Mars, but use the drive of the Sun and the passion of the Sun really to try and embrace some new ways of going about things. However, that brings us to the full moon of the 13th, and I've got to be honest, it's not an easy one because it's in the 12th house for us Aquarius people. So the 12th house, again, like I was saying about Pluto, the part of us that we don't necessarily want to embrace, that we're not aware of, our subconscious. Equally, it can be that you're really into embracing personal development, and that's why you're into astrology. I have Mercury in the 12th house of my Sun, if you like, so that fascination with psychology, it's in a trine with Pluto, is apparent for me, but that doesn't mean to say that my consciousness is always joined up. We all have to keep working at it. So this full moon suggests that there may be something that is a bit out of balance between the emotional, spiritual and psychological side of your situation and the practicality. So for example, if you're someone who's doing a lot of running or swimming or cycling on the basis of getting really fitter, but you're not quite so aware of what your motives are for doing that, this would be a good chance to think about why that is. Now, Saturn actually forges a very positive semi-sextile to the moon, but a challenging quincunx to the Sun. So the first house energy means that the devotional side of the 6th house, where we need to sort of give ourselves to others to help them, be more self-sacrificing, clashes with your need to be an individual, or my need to be an individual, and potentially with the sensitivities of a situation. I think it could be over the following 2 weeks that something could be revealed around a professional situation that does require a reset. The great news, however, is that on the 18th, Venus moves into the sign of Cancer, which, when it comes to work, can bring a sort of healing balm, a sort of, a more of a not splitting the hairs kind of energy, which Mercury in the 6th house can bring. Whereas then on the 19th, Mercury moves into your 7th house, and you can deploy that natural detachment and ability to be a little bit more, you have a great gift for hearing other people's viewpoints and not necessarily taking it personally. I was saying to Elisa the other day, I can actually like people that sometimes don't like me, which is about as detached as it can get. So Mercury in the 7th house can be very helpful. The crunched, however, is perhaps not just the moon, it is the fact that both the Sun and Mercury, before it moves into Leo, are actually in opposition with Pluto. So there could be something that's quite tender that happens at the heart of this month. I don't want to use the word betrayal because it's a bit strong, and you'll be thinking, but you just have, which would be true. But what I'm trying to express is that there may be something that you're not quite aware of that's a bit out of balance. It could be linked to work. Maybe someone's finding it a bit awkward to tell you something. They could really like you, but maybe they need to tell you that their situation's changed and how that's going to play out could have an impact on you. So just be conscious of that. But on the 22nd, the Sun returns home to Leo, and it's all about relationships, which brings me, roll of the drums. That was a snare, wasn't it? I was like a drummer in a marching band then. roll of the drums, because on the 28th we have the new moon in your opposite sign, but it's in a trine with the beautiful, bountiful Jupiter in the 3rd house of everyday expression. Now Jupiter goes retrograde on the 28th. If you are thinking about getting a new mode of transport, not necessarily a car, it could be an electric bike, it could be a moped, it could be even an e-scooter, with the 3rd house is very speedy and nippy. Just be aware around everyday communications that Jupiter asks us not to be too overconfident, but generally this new moon that brings this month to an end is so full of abundance, and some kind of partnership or connection or agreement can take you into August in really top form. Very exciting. Is there a glitch? Well, the catch really is that Mars is caught up. It's moved forwards in Taurus, and then it goes side by side, our modern ruler. So frustration around a home, emotional or family matter could really be high. If you remember in 2018, when Uranus briefly went into Taurus for 5 months, Mars stationed about 0 degrees, 1 degree in Aquarius, when Uranus was just at the start of Taurus. And if your sun in Aquarius is right at the start of, or your ascendant right at the start of Aquarius, you may have gone through a horrendous period, that 4 or 5 months, of feeling really exasperated with certain individuals, probably in the family, and there is the potential for that to happen again, but this time it will be for Aquarians who are born more into the sign, because obviously Uranus is pretty well halfway through its journey in the sign of Taurus. So if your birthday's about halfway through Aquarius, there could be some real tensions at that point. But for many Aquarius people, relationships can actually be improved by Mars conjunction to Uranus, because Uranus is the planet of truth, and it's in mythology the planet of the sky, so it governs astrology, but it is about being authentic, which Aquarius people generally like, that concept. And Mars may mean that there may be something that you need to be more frank about, and because the new moon's in the 7th house and Jupiter's around this event as well, you will potentially be able to find the right balance of diplomacy and assertiveness and clarity and conviction, so that someone listens to what you have to say and knows that there's a welter of frustration that's built up, but you're willing to reach out still with the new moon in the 7th house and meet someone halfway if they're prepared to bend and flex too. And that's going to be an interesting discussion or experience, because of course Mars and Uranus in Taurus is about as fixed as it gets, so someone could be resistant. And of course the new moon is also in the fixed sign of Leo, and of course Saturn is retreating in your sign, also a fixed sign. So we'll see what will happen, but I think generally that's a really brilliant new moon to bring the month to an end. And if you are wanting to find someone new in your life, whether it's someone to go out and have fun with, whether it is someone that you want to have a more competitive relationship with, tennis or badminton, or go cycling with, or it is a more romantic dimension, this is a terrific new moon. But it just needs to be a very honest relationship with that Mars conjunction with Uranus to really work. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Aquarius. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care and goodbye.